And you're just in time for yet another edition of Business Glide, your go-to point on matters public policy analysis, business and economics at large. And as always, I'm yours truly, Richard Mwanjan. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Now today we're going to discuss a plethora of issues in the world of economics, starting with the biggest talk in town right now. That is the top agenda that was there during the Mashujaa Day celebrations, the Universal Health Care Coverage Program that is to be spread across the country just so to ensure citizens afford quality and really cheap healthcare for all. No discrimination therein. So we're going to unpack that conversation today on this insightful edition of Business Glide. And who better to help me unpack that conversation than this firebrand advocate of the High Court of Kenya, the first of his name, and many consider him Gichugu's biggest export. That is Mr. Ndegwa Njiru.
Thank you.
You are flattered, right?
Oh, really?
Very well. Welcome on board, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Many people really have pushed us to bring you again on the show.
Oh, that's great.
That's just how much of a force of a reckon you are in this industry.
Oh, you know, I still consider myself the little boy from the village.
From the village?
As much as I've left the village, perhaps I've come to the city, I still consider myself the little boy.
You're just but a blessed child of God.
God has had great favor in me, and the grace of the Lord has been sufficient. And so we can only say that it has taken the hand of God for us to be where we are.
Talking of which, now that we're talking about the hand of God in everything, I mean, this government came on board and many said it is a government that was selected by God.
Yes.
And just a fortnight ago, we saw President William Ruto come forth and said, I am so fortunate to be your president at this time, because if it were not me, then the country will have been left for the dogs. It will be actually in ruins. And just to put it into context what he said, exactly paraphrase it, he said, I am happy that I am the president of Kenya when things are tough, because when they are, it needs someone like me to lead. If it was someone else, Kenya would have already sunk. Come on. When a chosen leader who's been given the privilege to lead the country pronounces himself as the master of the moment and is the only person who can be a savior, don't you think in itself that is actually the first step towards downfall?
Yes, the biggest problem we have with Mr. William Ruto is that he overrates himself.
Overrated?
Yeah, he overrates himself. Even, I don't know which yardstick he takes to measure his strides. Because mostly he has been out blowing his own trumpet. He calls himself the Christian, yet the Bible speaks about humility. When he tried to speak about humility and Mr. William Ruto, you cannot put them in one sentence. He knows not what humility is. He knows not what meekness is. He knows not, he only knows what it is to blow his own trumpet.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to say it was fake humility during the campaign period because he brought himself down to the people on the ground, the hustlers?
Oh, unless you don't understand Mr. William Ruto's history, it would be myopic and naive for anyone to think that Mr. William Ruto understands what the hustlers are, understands what humility is, understands how or what it takes to be humble.
So it was a circus?
A complete one, a complete circus. It can only happen in a theater of absurdity. And yes, it has happened. Because to me, he has always appeared as this very arrogant person. And he has been pushing his agenda in a very arrogant manner. And that's why he's saying that, oh, had it not been me, Kenya would have sunk. And then you want to ask yourself, Mr. Richard, who has put the country where it is? Isn't he the one? In last year when he took over power, or when he grabbed power, petrol was trading at 160. Today, we are at 217. Who has put the country where it is? You know, when he took over power, the dollar was trading at 130. Today, we are at 150.
Almost 160.
Almost 160. When he took over power, 1 unit of electricity, I think, was going for about 5 shillings. Today, it's 15 shillings. When he took over power, all kids going to secondary school or the universities were equalized. The help was equally accessible to everybody. Today, he has done what is called social stratification. He has classified people in terms of their capacity and their ability, and in terms of how the society perceives that particular person. So he is the author of the difficulties that we are in today. He is responsible for the difficulties that we are in today. All the difficulties, like the economic hardship the country is facing, he's squarely responsible for them. When he says that he's lucky to be the president and the country would have sunk, let me ask you, were the people in Mavoko evicted last year? Over 30,000 families have been evicted today. Who has created that difficulty? Isn't he the one? Isn't that a crisis that has been created by him? Look at Nyamakema, the one that were crying crocodile tears about. The shops have been closed. Today you go to Nyamakema, the landlords are not even asking you or requesting you to pay the goodwill deposit. Shops have closed in Nyamakema. When he says that he's lucky to be the president because at this particular time of difficulties, if it was any other person, the country would have sunk.
To the dogs.
You know, of course, he's trying to say that if it was President Uhuru or perhaps it was Raila Odinga, the country would have sunk. Then when he came to power, we were selling a kilo of coffee at 120. Today we are selling the same kg at 60 shillings. Who has made it difficult? Isn't he the one who has made it difficult for the farmer? When he came to power, we were selling the macadamias at 200 shillings per kg. Today we are selling at 20 shillings. In fact, macadamia is being hawked in funerals, in birthday parties. You know, that is how hopeless that crop has become. Courtesy of who? Courtesy of him.
So,
you know,
I mean,
and he's a guy who doesn't believe in meritocracy. And if you compare President Uhuru Kenyatta's regime and you compare the late President Kibaki's regime, they are individuals who believed in meritocracy. But if you compare Moi's regime and William Ruto'S regime, there is no difference. They don't believe in meritocracy. To them, meritocracy is a thing of the past.
Let's then advance that conversation. Just about slightly 3 years ago, we saw COVID-19 come on board.
Yes.
And if there's one man who navigated the country throughout COVID-19 was President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
Would you then say that if there's one man we can allow him to overrate himself in terms of helping the country, and it was during the tough times and navigating through the dark turmoil, it was Uhuru Kenyatta but not William Ruto?
Yes.
So are you saying Ruto is overrating himself?
Yes, he does overrate himself. I am telling you, if it was William Ruto who was the president during the COVID, this country would have actually sunk. We have already sunk. The country has sunk under his watch. The country has gone to the dogs under his guardianship. The country has gone to the dogs under his stewardship.
But then again, how much more could he have done within 1 year into office when he says they inherited a state with empty public coffers?
That's a nonsensical question and a nonsensical reason for him to give us. It tells me that he does not know what governance is all about. A country is not a business like the one you open for selling sugar or unga, that you expect a person to come and give you coins and you put it in the counter. The country is a going concern. It generates income on day-to-day basis. When we had demonstrations, we had them saying that we are losing 2 billion every day from Nairobi. So the next day when he took oath on the 14th of September, the country generated 2 billion. When ilienda wapi? Where did that money go? What is happening is the country has been robbed. There is a lot of spillage of our resources courtesy of this regime. The guy is out there saying, oh, corruption, but he is not able to ban corruption.
But he promised to form a commission of inquiry.
I told you this is a government that is premised on a criminal enterprise theory.
So even on board in the commission of inquiry on state capture, it will just do very little.
Oh, how would you set a trap to catch you?
It would catch him?
It would catch him.
Are you then speaking that graft is starting from the biggest office on land?
Yes, if it doesn't, what is he doing with the KA land here at Wilson Airport? What is he doing with it? Where the Western Hotel sits, it's in that corruption.
Can you prove that?
Oh yes. The National Land Commission made a finding last year, I think last year but one, that the land was not procedurally and regularly purchased. So I was even asking, how Christian is he? He's going to bomoa the houses for poor people in Mavoko that they are sitting on government land. I think he should have, if he was gentleman enough and if he was a Christian enough, he should have done what Zakayo did. Zakayo returned everything he had gotten from the poor people. Let him return.
Very well.
The Western Hotel, land first.
Moving on swiftly, and now going fully into the conversation of the day.
Yes.
We're talking matters the universal health coverage, and it was the biggest development carrot that was dangled to the citizens on Mashujaa Day. And even before the Mashujaa celebration, we saw the president assent into 4 new laws that touch on health that are going to see the success of UHC. Would you then say that when it comes to provision of healthcare to every Kenyan and at a very affordable rate, then universal health coverage is the goose to lay the golden egg? We've tried this before with Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
So what really convinces you this time round that going the Ruto way approach on UHC is now the silver bullet?
Let me tell you, there's no silver bullet in it. Because you cannot be able to institutionalize money before you fight corruption. Remember, the NHIF is a fund that has been run down, courtesy of corruption. And corruption is not just happening in big government offices. It's even happening and being practiced by the beneficiaries of those schemes. So until we put down our foot and we put in the mechanisms that is going to make sure that there is a question of transparency is enhanced, accountability is upheld, the rule of law is upheld, criminals are arrested, charged, and jailed. Yeah, and not the 3 mambo matatu things that we even that universal health care is a mirage. If I was Raila, I would say it's, I don't want to mention those words, but he keeps on saying it's mnyambo of something. I would not want to say it. But William Ruto is a sweet talker. Talks so nicely, so sweetly, but delivers a zero. Remember, from the time he became president, he has even abandoned his manifesto. Every day he speaks promises. Every day he speaks promises without having to tell us whether the promises of yesterday have actually been fulfilled, so that we can move on to the subsequent one.
But then again, as a president, he has the role to inspire the country and also sell hope to the citizens.
Oh, he's selling dry hope. Very, very dry hope. In the sense that Kenyans are not able to realize anything. In this country, there is no any infrastructural development that is happening today. There are no roads in this country that are being constructed. We were promised 1,000 dams, zero. We were promised Galana Kulalu, zero. There is nothing that is happening in this country other than political balkanization, political bastardization, political demonization, and stealing of public resources. Zero, nothing. No institution in this country is working. The judiciary is not working. Parliament is not working. The executive is not working. Kenyans are basically on their own. Look at the question of the parliament. Parliament is one of the organs that the constitution has contemplated for purposes of stabilizing and realizing our democratic aspirations. But what has happened today? Parliament has been killed. The parliament has been captured by the executive, courtesy of the speaker, Wetangula. The moment we accepted that Moses Wetangula, who is an affiliate of KK, is to become the speaker
of the National Assembly,
that is the day we mutilated the functions of parliament. Why? Because he is part and parcel of the executive. His party is has formed government. Yet in parliament we are supposed to have a very impartial person, very objective person, a person who is not partial in any way, and a person who is going to lead the assembly as an assembly without any affiliation. But now Wetangula speaks as if he's in the executive. That is why these funds will not work. Why? Because there's nobody to hold the executive to account. They have completely killed parliament and hence mutilated its ability to oversight executive. So all these health funds, all these things we're being told is just those are games of, these are musical chairs.
Musical chairs.
They can't have any effect because once you kill the organs that are supposed to oversight you, even if there is embezzlement, who will speak?
None. Now that we also have Amason King in Senate.
Yes, and of course, who is party leader for PA? Moses Wetangula is a party leader for Kenya. Ford Kenya is in a coalition with the UDA. So the executive is seated there at the State House, and the executive is equally seated in the two house parliaments, the Senate and the National Assembly. Nobody to call each other to order.
Very well. And now to bring on board the reforms in the health sector, we've seen the president has sent now to the 4 bills that touch on health, which will now accumulate in the setup of the Social Health Insurance Fund to replace NHIF. Now, if you look at now another fund coming on board, and this is going to imply a statutory deduction on every salaried Kenyan. So little will be left as disposable income for the citizens.
Exactly.
And you know the cycle, how it goes, with less disposable income, less savings, less investment. Are you now trying to say that this government is blindfolded to that reality, that we are going to rob further into the payslip of salaried Kenyans through the new bill on board?
You see,
I mean the new law now.
The entire policy or agenda of the bottom up is a policy that is designed to impoverish the middle class. And last time, if you remember, I mentioned that William Ruto is a Marxist. He is more of Marxist than capitalist, in my own view. But now he has been overwhelmed by the capitalist world. That is why he pretends to be the darling of the proletarians and the newpence. But because of the impact and the inputs of the West, then he has to conform to the aspects of the capitalism. For him, he wants to make us poor, we people who are salaried, at the expense of those individuals who are not salaried. And mark you, the persons who are not earning salaries are many than those who are earning. So he has made it appear like the persons with the salaries, the government is doing them a favor to pay them, or your employer is doing you a favor to pay them, not remembering that your salary is a compensation for the services that you render to the members of the public. So he has criminalized pay slips to the extent that he's now saying, oh, mimi ninalipwa milioni 2. Kuna shida gani nikiongezewa pesa ya NHF nilipe pesa nyingi kushinda yule mtu ambaye hana mshahara ya milioni 1? So he has criminalized those people in the pay slip system. So that he can try to appease his so-called hustlers, and so that he can appear to look good. But now, without knowing that he's collapsing the economy, in the sense that once you taxed me and overtaxed me, I'll reach to a point where I can no longer bear it, and then of course I'm going to start managing my ability of consuming. If it's gonna cut my spending power. So the purchase power will also go down. If you look out today, in Nairobi there is no traffic. Why? Because people have parked their cars. So even where he thought he could raise revenue from hiking the prices of petrol, it's having a negative impact on the economy to the extent that he's not able to reap the taxes. So to me, this taxation and His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka has been very clear on this, that you cannot build the economy by overtaxing a certain class of individuals. For what he would have done, he would have set up things like manufacturing, so that we get everybody into working. Once we get everybody into working, then you can tax us, because at least we shall be able to bear the burden of taxation, or all of us will assist each other in carrying this burden. Remember, the Constitution says that the question of taxation shall be an equitable process and a fair process.
Sure.
If you look at what is happening today, there is no fairness and there is no equity in the terms of taxation, because you are overburdening a particular cross-section of the society.
So in the short term or medium term, we first widen the tax net.
Yes.
Through employment in manufacturing.
Through creating employment, you expand the tax base.
Sure.
Now, the idea of him creating employment is building houses. I don't know how houses for bedrooms, how bedrooms will generate revenue. I don't know how sitting rooms, I don't know how kitchens will generate revenue. I don't understand.
Very well.
I don't understand that economics. How bedrooms will create employment. Because that's what it's telling us. That Kenya is poor because we have not increased the number of the bedrooms. Or you may say, during that construction period, we'll buy cement. During that construction period, we'll buy materials. But remember, all these materials, we're importing them from China. So he has an inverted approach. And today, I saw a tweet by somebody called, what is his name? Ndi.
Oh, Devin D.
And if you allow me, I'll just fish it out.
Oh yeah, sure.
And read it out for you, because I referred to it somewhere today.
And he's also the voice of reason as the chair of the Economic Council.
He's supposed to be a voice of reason.
Whether you don't think he is?
Whether he is a voice of reason, that
it remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. So there was this guy who was asking him, what do we do? Do we wait for another 5 years? Or, sorry, in October, will things change, or I have to wait? Then he answered, how do you expect a patient who is in ICU to just rise up and start walking? I'm just putting it in verbatim. Once I fish it out, I'll read it out.
No problem, no problem.
So what he's saying is that Kenyans have no hope.
There's no way out.
There's no way out. That's what he said.
The next step is for the patient to get to the morgue.
We are going to the morgue, and we are there.
Very well. Now, still talking on matters, the health reforms, and now with the onboarding of the Social Health Insurance Fund, which will replace NHIF.
Yes.
I mean, you've taken concern with those who will be mandated to take charge of these funds.
Yes.
Oftentimes, we've seen incompetence and misappropriation of funds at NHIF, NSSF. It is in the public domain.
Yeah.
But this time round, we've seen a very vocal health minister, that is Madam Susan Nakhumicha, coming forth and saying she will put an end to cartels. She will crack on all those cartels standing in the way of health reforms at Afya House, or should I say Health Ministry headquarters. But it's the same call that was brought forth by Mutahi Kahiga when he was the health minister. We've always seen this Mutahi Kagwe, yes. I beg your pardon. So this is a clarion call we've had from every health CS coming on board. This time round, there's nothing different we're hearing from Nakhumicha. Would we then say, at the point a CS goes forth to say we're going to fight cartels, she or he is actually admitting failure even from the inception?
Exactly. And one thing you must understand is that Mr. William Ruto's cabinet is not constituted of people who have the capacity to govern and to run this country. Because they were not selected on the basis of their merits. They were selected on the basis of where do you come from, who has brought you, who is your sponsor. Those were the basis upon which this cabinet was constituted. And that is why you can have people like the minister speaking the way she's speaking. Number two, we are forgetting that health is a devolved function. She's speaking as if health is an entire docket that is within the national government. At Afya House. At Afya House. So what they are doing is, they are not remembering, they are actually killing devolution by what they are doing. Number three, when she says that, she's telling us that, I'm overwhelmed, just like the way Mr.
Rigathi said in Coffee Cartels.
The former member of parliament for Mathira, or the former DO said that he has been overwhelmed by the cartels. When he was in Nyeri the other day, purporting to stage some golf tournaments, he said that he's now begging the cartels, the coffee cartels, to just share the profits. You see, this government is not premised on the need to deliver services to the people. They are there to enrich themselves because it's a criminal enterprise. And and you can see they are very idle. That's why they're having a lot of idle talks. To an extent, a whole person who calls himself the deputy president is having times to go and supervise tournaments. Those tournaments are the ones that we have now left for Small boys like me and you. So how would a DP spend the time to go and supervise a tournament? And he's not a golfer himself. I doubt whether he knows how to golf. And I challenge him to show us where he golfs and which club is subscribed to. It tells us that he's very idle.
Very idle.
And maybe it's a high time, Mr. William Ruto, to try to get some work for him.
So going into the future, anytime we see a state officer coming on board, say now like Nakumicha on health, and,
Yes.
And admitting that there are cartels and they are going to fight them, in itself we should just know that's admission of failure.
It's admission of failure. Haven't you seen Mr. William Ruto himself coming out and saying, oh, El Nino is not coming, after all the hypes, after 5 billion has been budgeted, after 5 billion has been spent in preparation of the so-called El Nino.
We purchased boats in Nairobi.
And then you see, we are told El Nino is not coming. Whenever government want to steal money, they come up with a fictitious project like the El Nino project. Even this universal health care is a white elephant. It will never materialize. It's a scheme for them to spillage our money.
However, how robust it is and it has been packaged.
It may appear so much interesting, just like the way the philosophy of Mama Mboga, the philosophy of boda persons, mkokoteni person, appeared very sweet. At the end of the day, that boda person is today crying.
4 years from now, are you looking at a position whereby even a Kenyan from Gashugu cannot walk into level 4 hospital and access services for free completely, as it's envisioned in this UHC?
They're already grounded, even as we speak. Don't speak about 4 years to come. Hospitals are not functional. They are not functional. We are having serious brain drain in this country, especially in the field of medicine, because the medics are looking for greener pastures elsewhere. I have a cousin of mine who just graduated the other day. We have paid school fees for him. The government has also spent money on him, but he's now on his way out. After all the expenditure we have done on him as a family, after all the expenditure government has spent on him, after all the expenditure the father and the mother has spent on him, he's now on his way. He's looking for visa to go.
For the many Kenyans who smiled at the launch of the universal health coverage on Mashujaa Day, what's your message to them?
I doubt whether there were any smiles, because first of all, it was a misery in Kericho, if I may begin there. You remember the kind of the standard of the stadium that we have. You remember we had stampede there. People lost their lives. So I don't think there is no Kenyan who is smiling, my brother. Yesterday I was in church, in Giriambu Church. And there were these UDMCAs and they were all there, and the deputy governor from Kirinyaga was there. And so I was told, Ndegwa, you can see the church is very peaceful, usikuja kuharibu. And so I said, I'm not going to staribu, but I'll speak my mind, because a leopard will always carry its spots.
Sure.
The black and white spots will always be on its back, its shoulder, its feet. So I said, mimi nikikuja niwaambie mafuta iko na bei ghali, nimeharibu. Nikikuja niseme watu hawezi kununua unga, nimeharibu. Nikisema nikikuja niseme unga ni bei ghali, nimeharibu. Nikikuja niseme watoto wetu wako nyumbani kwa sababu wazazi hawezi kulipa karo ya shule, nimeharibu. Nikija niseme kahawa yetu haina bei mzuri, nimeharibu.
And that was in Mount Kenya?
That was yesterday.
So the chicken have come home to roost.
There was jubilation, my friend. People in Mount Kenya are not in this government. People in Mount Kenya, they are in Kamwene.
Much as they are the biggest shareholders? They are not enjoying the fruits of their shareholding?
You see, the dividends are going elsewhere.
Not to their pockets?
They are shareholders by name. And that's why you can see the Mr. Rigathi, who says that is a top number 1 shareholder in Mount Kenya region.
Sure.
Is running helter-skelter, trying to arrange for golf tournaments, and thinking that the golf tournaments can consolidate the mountain. The boda person does not even know what golf is. Why doesn't he think about the boda person? Wale ambao walikuwa naitwa Karen last year. Wale watu wa boda walikuwa naitwa Karen last year. Wale wa mama walikuwa na wana sign memorandum. Wale wa mama walikuwa na sign memorandum last year and charters last year. The boda person who signed the charter, the economic charter. The Mama Mboga who signed the charter. the woman who signed the economic charter, the watu wa mkokoteni who signed the charter, the watu wa salons who gathered in Karen and signed the charters, where are they today?
They are no longer at the dining table.
Where are they today? People are now going for golf clubs. How useless have they become? How worthless have you become, you Mama Mboga? How worthless have you become, you boda person? How worthless have you become, Mama Mkokoteni person? How worthless have you become, you Mkokoteni pusher? How worthless have you become, you the Mama Salon? To the extent that you're no longer worthy, and if I want to meet people, I go to the golf clubs. I mean, that's an insult on you. It's an insult on your intellect.
Well, there you have it. A very good point to wrap this conversation today, talking matters the health reforms and the latest bouncing baby boy on board, that is the universal health coverage, being spearheaded by this sitting administration just to ensure that every Kenyan accesses quality healthcare and at a very affordable price. And this is the conversation that we wanted to have, so that we also have your opinion on whether you see this the best route for the government to take. Also, the onboarding of the new social health insurance fund and what that means for you as a salaried worker, and also the impact that will have on your income and your future economic decisions therein. Now, time for our phone of the week. It is none other than this amazing advocate of the High Court of Kenya, that is Mr. Paul Kigodo.
Mr. Paul Kigodo is our senior. And he has really fought for this space that we are currently enjoying. The freedom of speech that I'm now currently enjoying is courtesy of the sacrifice of these individuals. Unfortunately, these individuals who have sacrificed this much are the ones now that are being seen as if they are worthless. They are uplifting and glorifying thieves and failing to glorify a person, a shujaa like Paul. Very unfortunate.
Asante sana Paul Kigodo for always tuning into this economic show. We thank you so much for always gracing our editions. Until next time on Business Glide, always a pleasure to have you on board. But up next on your screen is the Business Glide African Proverb of the Day.